Hey C3, Pastor Nick here, and I want to give you a Vision Builders update. If you had joined us back in November of 2020, yes, we're going back to 2020, you partnered with us on some pretty incredible initiatives, and one of those was partnering with Exodus Cry. And so I have a special guest with us, Helen from Exodus Cry, and she is going to inform you about what our Vision Builders partnership has been looking like, what we've been impacting. But before we jump into that space, Helen, why don't you just introduce yourself to us and tell us a bit about the mission of Exodus Cry?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Helen. I'm the Director of Outreach and Intervention at Exodus Cry, originally from the UK. And we are based here in Southern California. We've kind of modeled our organization after William Wilberforce and the way he abolished the transatlantic slave trade through cultural reform and legal reform. So abolition is a huge part of how we're wanting to fight sex trafficking, really going after the root, after demand, the culture that fuels and creates a demand for sex trafficking. We're thinking 10 to 20 years ahead, how do we really break the back of sex trafficking, not just in the US, but in the world? So, just a small goal there. And then at the same time, we're wanting to go out to the places where women and children are being exploited in sex trafficking, going out to the sex industry, taking teams there, coming alongside exploited women, offering them resources and assistance and care packages, a hotline number, building relationship with them and walking with them out of exploitation into freedom. So and then in the meantime doing activism and campaigns around both of those things.
Right, and I think that's one of the most incredible attributes to Exodus Cry is the idea of when you're going after a mission, which we were just saying, like their goal is to abolish sex trafficking. Now, to abolish, it's not like we're just fighting against it. They are there to abolish it. I'm like, that is such a bold, courageous goal, and I love that it's been, just hearing a bit of your story, how your participation in this has come from a place of prayer and really being called by God to step into these spaces. But you want to attack it from, like you said, different angles. So you're in the fight to bring cultural awareness through legislation, removing laws, changing laws, and then obviously reaching out to the victims. And so I think some of us sitting at home watching this video, which, hey, just a quick heads up, if you are watching with your little ones, maybe move over to another room and protect their sweet little ears, because what I want to do is just bring a reality check to us. I think you put it so politely earlier when we were talking about blissful naivety that we can have around the topic of sex trafficking, and it's such a real issue, especially in the city that we have our church planted. So why don't you just give us a bit of the realities of, why this battle, why abolish this?
Yeah, I truly feel this issue is like the greatest assault against the image of God in a man or a woman, and the impact and the trauma of this is so devastating. We've been going after the issue of sex trafficking and how women are trafficked into prostitution, so taking on prostitution laws over the last few years. But even from the beginning, from over 10 years ago, we knew that at some point when God gave the green light, we were going to start talking about the issue of pornography, which is really like the pornographic soil is what fuels and feeds the roots of the tree of sex trafficking. And it's the marketing force behind every sex buyer's fantasy before he goes out and purchases a real person. There's a history of a porn addiction. It doesn't mean that every porn user actually acts out, but that is what is the marketing force behind it. Right. But we also knew that women were being trafficked into the porn industry, and videos of trafficking survivors as well as underage victims were being put on pornography websites. So it was around a year ago when God really gave the green light and thumbs up to start taking on the porn industry and call for regulations on this big porn industry. It's like if big tobacco had zero regulations, it would be unthinkable. Right. But pornography has largely operated with total impunity and covered by so many free speech laws, even though it is prostitution with a camera in the room. Several victims actually say that they experienced more trauma from being trafficked in the porn industry because it wasn't just one individual, there was a whole set and multiple people involved in that exploitative act. So it's around a year ago when this whole campaign exploded.
Right, and the campaign you're talking about is Trafficking Hub, right?
Yeah.
And that's a campaign that they've used specifically to target Pornhub, right? And that is tell us a bit about that, because I think just the idea, you know, back in the day to access porn, it was a bit more challenging. There were some, you had to put in a credit card number, just like certain steps, let's say, that maybe would have prevented such an easy access. But now here we are in 2021 where it's free, it's easy, and with just a couple clicks of a button. You were telling me a story about a mom whose 8-year-old was on her tablet, right, at a family gathering, and just watching innocent YouTube, she thought, or no, he was Googling like something funny, and
he Googled butts, like an 8-year-old boy thinking of funny words. Oh, if I type in this funny word, I see funny pictures that relate to that, and Googled that, led him straight to Pornhub. And so within a couple of clicks, he was watching for an hour, even on devices that had protections, videos of hardcore sex acts that this website provides no kind of screen or protection for children. And so I think we just, what we were speaking about earlier, like every parent can be so easy to think sex trafficking is something that's far out there. But not only is your child is vulnerable to being trafficked if they have access to an internet connection and a groomer, but also the porn industry is a groomer, is a trafficker. We're describing what happens to a child's mind when they are exposed to pornography underage as a form of neurological rape, and the type of trauma that they go through and the long-term ramifications around their sexuality. Pornhub are very aware of this. They've actually created a whole sex education program. They know that a lot of their first-time users are children or teens, so they have not put into place the protections that they could have to protect children from accessing their site. The time of a person's life when their brain is most vulnerable to lifelong addiction is as a child or a teenager, and so we've kind of been going after Pornhub from both angles, from both the like looking at Pornhub as a platform, and so highlighting that they don't verify the age or consent of anyone in the video is being uploaded. So that is one whole part of this conversation of there's zero regulations around enforcing that there aren't children being put on these websites, and that there are non-consensual videos. We've been having victims of trafficking, of rape, of child sexual abuse material, women who were victimized through spy cams, revenge porn. So much non-consensual material being uploaded to Pornhub. And then on our second lane and campaign that we're launching this year is focusing on protecting children. So there's kind of the two major ways we're going after the porn industry.
And just again, put it in perspective, they reported that it would take 169 years to actually screen and view everything that is put up on Pornhub, because it's a user uploaded, like a YouTube. You can just upload anything from home onto this site. And so what Exodus Cry is doing is they've come in and they are pushing for regulation legislation. So why don't you talk to us a bit about some of the wins you guys have had in this campaign?
Yeah, so it was around a year ago that we launched this with a petition that got over 2 million signatures. We called it Trafficking Hub. We're using the similar logo of Pornhub. Pornhub is the most well-known porn website, and the company that owned Pornhub actually own around 80% of all the online porn sites. So we were really going after the absolute Goliath of the porn industry. We made a 2-minute video that the Lord completely made it go viral, but we had 300 organizations sign on in support of this, child protection organizations, feminist groups, and thousands of articles were written about this campaign. So it was gaining a lot of momentum all of 2020, but the tipping point really came in December when a journalist from the New York Times began doing his own investigation and spoke with us, spoke with survivors, found illegal content on the site for himself, and in early December released this article. It was on the front page of the New York Times. And after that tipping point moment in this campaign, credit card companies, MasterCard, Visa, Discover, immediately pulled the plug. So Pornhub was just left with cryptocurrency as a means for people to pay for the paid video content. and they removed the download button. That was something that we were calling to the public's attention, that not only could anyone watch these videos, potentially illegal videos, they could download it and then potentially re-upload it to another site.
Right.
So the trauma that victims were going through, not only trying to recover from a rape or an assault or the most traumatizing trafficking experience of their life, but having that be shown time and time again through pornography was very re-traumatizing for them. But anyway, it just felt like all these series of breakthroughs happened in December, which culminated in Pornhub removing 10 million videos, almost 80% of their entire website, which had 13 million videos.
Wow.
Which mostly operate as like a YouTube kind of thing. People make these videos and upload them. It's not all studio produced videos, which is why we call them porn tube sites. And so Pornhub removed those 10 million videos because they knew we have no idea how many people are underage or non-consensually on out of these 10 million. And in their statement, they blamed us and another organization and tried to smear our name. We took it as credit. Like, thank you for giving us the credit. And we continue to go after this site. Like, our goal is, and has been from the beginning, to hold the executives accountable for monetizing illegal content and to obtain justice and restitution for victims.
Which is something I think is so admirable too about one of the angles that you guys take is getting into legislation, but also giving these victims who have been exploited unknowingly against their will to actually have the right to sue, which is mind-boggling to me that they didn't have that right. And so talk to us about a few of those wins that you guys have had recently.
Well, often it just takes a few survivors to be the first to step up, and that emboldens other survivors. And there were 50 girls from a porn channel on Pornhub called Girls Do Porn who were trafficking victims who are all currently suing Pornhub. So that is a lawsuit already happening, but we're wanting to connect and are connecting victims to get legal action and justice. So that's something that's going to be happening. And we're also providing therapy to victims who are coming forward, like the best trauma-informed therapy in the country. And that's been such a blessing to be able to walk victims through this process, advocate for them, and then connect them with therapy that many of them have never had before.
Yeah, which is, again, I love this about Exodus Cry, is I remember reading about how one of your goals is to journey alongside these victims and restoring their lives back and giving them the hope of dreaming again. And I think that's such a beautiful thing, because you read these stories. I remember reading a story about a girl who wanted to be like a famous singer in Thailand or something, but because she had this exposed photo go viral, she's like, well, that dream can't be a reality again. And you just think of, like, you're not just having your dignity and your body like taken and exposed, but it's your hopes and dreams go with it. And so the fact that you guys are ministering to these women and giving them that God dream again is such a beautiful and powerful thing. And that's what we are partnering with. That's what your Vision Builders Generosity Church is going towards. It's fighting the battle from so many angles, but also it's investing in the hopes and dreams and the redemption of these women's story that God has for them. So, you know, as we look ahead, I know you were talking about there's a new campaign coming out that is geared specifically to prevention for 18 and under. So as we look forward to continuing to partner with Exodus Cry, tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so off the back of the crazy successful momentum from the Trafficking Hub campaign, which is still going to be continuing to unfold, we're launching just in a few weeks a new campaign called Protect Children Not Porn. We created a documentary called Raised on Porn that is all about the impact of for under 18s, for children, of exposure to pornography, how it impacts their lives, their behaviors, their decisions. And so this is something we just feel like we're at a critical point in history where there really is not enough protection for children behind the screens from accessing some of the most hardcore, violent, abusive content. And we just really want to call for greater regulations and protections for children. This is something we believe surely every government in every nation should be taking seriously, and it isn't a free speech issue anymore. This is far beyond that now. We know that the porn industry has as I was saying earlier, if they're having subscribers for life, that they're not going to be happy about us taking this on.
Right.
But we just, we're wanting to put protections in for the next generation. I think a lot of parents have no idea how vulnerable their children are from the kind of content that they could be exposed to. And so we're wanting the church to jump on board with this. I believe the church is God's plan A to bring justice to the earth. Yeah. And so we're charging towards this Goliath, but we, you know, just like David had the zeal of the Lord, like knowing that this is not okay, and God is on our side. We know that God wants children to be protected from the abuse of what they're going through. So we're hoping through this documentary, through this campaign, it's going to have a global impact. We want big tech to get involved. We want Google to get involved. Right. And I believe this documentary is going to have a really powerful impact as well. So just practically,
because I know obviously if you haven't actually already contributed to Vision Builders and you're hearing Helen speak and you're like, I want to get involved with my generosity, there's actually a button in the email that you were sent where you can quickly join and partner with us in that, but also just as an individual, you know, sitting at home. There are ways that we can help support the mission of Exodus Cry. Get on board with this campaign, sign the petition, Instagram. So tell us a few ways. Yeah.
I mean, you hit on some of them as well. Like I think tracking with us, just first like feel connected to us, spend 10 minutes just going on our website exoduscry.com, and then our campaign website traffickinghub.com, where you can sign the petition, and just even starting by following us and tracking with us, so you feel a sense of being connected to the journey of these campaigns. And when we launch this next campaign in a couple of weeks, we are really wanting all our partners and the churches we're connected with to feel emboldened to share that, to share the documentary. We're going to be making a short 2-minute viral video, or hopefully viral video. And we never underestimate the power of awareness. It's not awareness for the sake of awareness, it's for the sake of cultural reform and change and public opinion shifting and education. So we're going after the root, we're going after this, and we really are like believing that the Lord is behind these efforts, and I'm just so grateful for your partnership. We just want you to feel like you know who we are even more, and feel informed. We have a ton of resources on our websites that we have created for the church and to bring awareness to the public.
Yeah, it only takes a few clicks on that website before I promise you will find yourself getting so convicted to join the fight, join the mission of abolishing sex trafficking with Exodus Cry. So, hey C3, once again, thank you so much for partnering with us. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your open hearts and your diligence to do the work that God has put before us and to partner with organizations like Exodus Cry. We love you so much. Look forward to sending you more updates on what your VB has been accomplishing and doing throughout 2021. God bless.